Hello, my international darlings. Welcome to the Mclennon Series. If you're out here, you may know how this channel started and grew. Basically posting Mclennon fan vids and Beatles related content. Now, you also may know that I, Mary, am a huge Beatles fan since I was 13 years old. I'm 20 now, and I can say that since I started to read about the band until now, I learned a lot of things. Knowing that, I wanted to make my knowledge useful somehow, and I noticed a pattern on the comments of this channel. A lot of people saying that John and Paul weren't gay, or they were just good friends, or even you should stop this, it's disrespectful. Now, I know that I am not the sweetest when it comes to answer this kind of comments. Actually, I am pretty rude, especially when people come to call me names with no apparent reason. But anyway, I realized that calling these people out or even blocking the comments on some videos wouldn't help to end this hate speech. First, let's make something here very clear. I'm not trying to make John and Paul gay, mainly because John is dead, and Paul is an old man who knows better than anyone about his own experiences, sexuality, and beliefs. What I do in this channel is simply aesthetic. I love to edit videos, and yes, I do think that John and Paul had more than a friendship going on. But this doesn't mean that it happened in the way I portrayed in my videos. Actually, it doesn't mean that a relationship or love affair happened at all. There are so many versions of the Beatles' history, and we will never know what the truth is, especially when it comes to such a polemic topic as sexuality. So, the reason I'm making this series is to explain, based on facts, my theory around Mclennon. It is important to say that I will always give you the source of what I'm saying, and if I don't have it, I will make it very clear. In this area of misinformation, we must be careful and value the real knowledge. Otherwise, we could spread rumors, and that's not what I want. First, I want to contextualize the decades we are going to be talking about in the beginning of the series, the 50s and the 60s. It is important to know also that homosexuality was considered a crime until 1968. Not only a sin, not only a disease, but a crime. People would literally get arrested for being gay. Can you imagine that? However, one thing that we know is that a law doesn't avoid something to happen or exist. This means gays, lesbians, bisexuals existed back then. They would just repress their sexuality and live a life of fear and shame. A proof that homosexual people existed, and not so far off the Liverpool boys, is Brian Epstein. For those who doesn't know, Brian Epstein was the manager of the Beatles and was, not openly for obvious reasons, a homosexual man. He met the band at its very beginning, in the Covent Club, a popular club in Blackpool. Enough with the historical context, let's go straight, or not that much, to the 6th of July of 1957, the day Paul and John first met. It is an important date here, as John in Hunter Davis' biography, The Beatles, said, "That was the day that I met Paul, that it started moving." Back then, John already had a skiffle band before meeting the other official members of the Beatles. The band was called the Caravan, and it was in none of its presentations that John and Paul met for the first time. The members of this band were Lennon, Eric Griffiths, Colin Hanton, Hot Davis, Pete Shotton, and Len Gary. My memory of meeting John for the first time is very clear. I can still see John now. Checkered shirt, slightly curly hair, singing Come and Go With Me by the Delvicans, and doing a good job of it. I remember thinking, he looks good. I wouldn't mind being in a group with him. Then, as you all know, he asked me to join the group, and so we began our trip together. We wrote our first songs together, we grew up together, and lived our lives together. And when we do it together, something special would happen. There'd be that little magic spark. I still remember his beery old breath when I first met him that day. But soon I came to love that period breath, and I loved John, and I was, and still am, a great fan of John's. The quote is from Paul, taken from the Paul McCartney Encyclopedia by Bill Harry. Paul also wrote the introduction of John's first book, John Lennon in His Own Right, and told the readers about the day they met each other. At the Wootton Village Feed, I met him. I was a fat schoolboy, and as he leaned an arm on my shoulder, I realized he was drunk. We were 12 then, but in spite of his sideboards, we went to become teenage Paul. Aunt Mimi, who had looked after him since he was so high, used to tell me how he was cleverer than he pretended, and things like that. He had written a poem for the school magazine about a hermit who said, "As breathing is my life, to stop I dare not dare." This made me wonder right away, is he deep? He wore glasses, so it was possible, and even without them, there was no holding him. "What but?" he would say, to house of the appreciative laughter. He went to Quarry Bank High School for boys and later attended Liverpool Art College. He left the school and played with a group called the Beatles, and here he is, with a book. Again I think, is he deep? Is he artsy, witty, or cultured? There are bound to be thick heads who will wonder why some of it doesn't make sense, and others who will search for hidden meanings. What is a Brummer? There's more to dub o book than meets the eye. None of it has to make sense, and if it seems funny, then that's enough. Paul. P.S. I like the drawings too. We don't know exactly what happened in backstage, since there is a lot of different versions. But what we know is Paul played some songs to John. One of them was 20 Fly Hawk. Actually, let's listen to John telling us the side of the story. This audio is from 1980.
Was saying to somebody the other day, there's only two artists I've ever worked with for more than one night stand, as it were. That's Paul McCartney and Yoko Ono. I think that's a pretty damn good choice. Because in the history of the Beatles, Paul met me the first day I did Bebopaloola live on stage. Okay? And a mutual friend brought him to see my group called the Quarrymen. And we met and we talked after the show. And I saw he had talent and he was playing guitar backstage and doing 25 Rock by Eddie Cochran. And I turned around to him right then on first meeting and said, "Do you want to join the group?" And I think he said yes the next day, as I recall it. Now, George came through Paul, and Ringo came through George, although, of course, I had a say in where they came from. But the person I actually picked as my partner, who I recognized had talent, and I could get on with, was Paul.
Right off, I could see that John was checking this kid out, says Peter Shotton, who was standing behind John, off to the side. Paul came on as very attractive, very loose, very easy, very confident, wildly confident. He played the guitar well. I could see that John was very impressed. After Paul was done, Colin Henton says, John and Paul circled each other like cats. Their interest in each other was deeper and more complex than it appeared to anyone watching the encounter. There was instant recognition. The chemical connection made between two boys who sensed in each other the same heartfelt commitment to this music, the same do or die. For all the circling, postering, and checking out that went on, what it all came down to was love at first sight. It was uncanny. He could play and sing in a way that none of us could, including John, Eric recalls. He had such confidence. He gave a performance. It was natural. We couldn't get enough of it. It was a real eye-opener. After listening to Paul play, John recalled, I had thought to myself, he's as good as me. Now, I thought, if I take him on, what will happen? It went to my head that I'd have to keep him in line if I let him join the band. But he was good. so he was worth having. He also looked like Elvis. I dug him. These quotes are from Bob Speed's Beatles biography, and we can see how the encounter is portrayed by most writers, full of sparkle, magic, and complexity. But even having some people describing it as love at first sight, we still have some blanks to fill when it comes to their supposed relationship. Let's continue to see how some other writers narrated it. The babe-faced 15 years old whom John was to meet on this innocent summer's afternoon, the more than collaborator, more than partner, more than brother, destined to share his life and living his mind and voice for almost the whole of the next decade, would always seem like his polar opposite in every possible way. Yet in their origins and family backgrounds, they were remarkably similar. This is from Philip's Norman book, John Lennon The Life. This book, as the other works of Norman, is very controversial. In there we have a lot of material that can practically confirm the suspicions of Paul and John being in love. Or at least John being platonically in love with Paul. But we are going to talk about that and Philip Norman's work in another video. People seem to be scared of saying anything about the possibility of them two being a couple. This caution is not reasonless, since Philip Norman himself was sued by Yoko Ono because of his book. Fortunately, he won on court, but that's not the reality for everyone who tries to go deeper in the mystery of Lennon-McCartney connection. Yoko Ono is the champion of suing anyone who vaguely tries to spoil the perfect hero man image that John has on media until today. However, Paul's stepsister, Ruth McCartney, tried to speak it up, and we can see how careful she is on this deployment. And Paul? Well, call me crazy, but he lost the wife. I'm certainly not implying anything of a carnal nature here, but to almost all intents and purposes, as John would have put it, what they had was a marriage. On the afternoon of July 6, 1957, an unsuspecting schoolboy named Heaven took a chubby, 15 years old Paul McCartney to listen to the local legends in their own lunchtime. The band they called the Quarrymen. The group was headed by a sexy, sardonic, closet nice guy. The almost 17 years old John Winston Lennon with his 17-pound guitar. She said that on her book, The Chemistry of Lennon and McCartney. It seems that from the very first moment they had a deep connection. John clearly saw the bright future of his project in the day he met Paul, and Paul also was very impressed. It seemed that they saw in each other something that nobody else around Liverpool had. They were different from everybody around there, and finally they met. Someone that could understand the most deep questions and thoughts. That is just the beginning of their story, and also just the beginning of the series. A lot of things happened on their lives, and made this connection something that was pretty much unique and really strong. To finish this video, I'd like to deliver a quote from James O'Donnell's book, The Day John Met Paul, an hour-by-hour account of how the Beatles began. It's pretty cheesy for my taste, but because of that, we can deny how romantic people portrayed that day. He, Paul, unhitches one thumb from a pocket and raises and opens a hand to his forehead to shut his eyes against a sudden sluice of sun. Like a sky-sailing wheel of fortune, the sun has displayed many different numbers this day, shown many different faces. The teenage's eyes land on Lennon's finger. He fastened his mind on the guitar player and the microphone. The rest of the band and the world melt into the hot afternoon. His own feeling for rock and roll provides a musical drawbridge for him to cross the moat into Lennon's dream castle. McCartney puts the day's heat somewhere else. His facial features were frozen. Even his long, frigid eyelashes are motionless. He squints to the point where his eyebrows have a beating cast. The sleek, slender, slippery figure of the 16 years old John Lennon inclines his head toward the microphone. For a millisecond, they eye each other motionless taboo. Lennon sitting, McCartney standing. Then their eyes meet squarely, and momentarily you can practically hear the dust motes set on Lennon's guitar next to him on a chair. The sight each beholds is hardly astonish. Brown eyes, brown hair, averted height, averted weight. No, the astonishment would search for something inside the two of them, something behind the eyes, under the hair, over the head, beyond the way, something about a certain attitude, toward a certain kind. McCartney has Lennon's rapt attention. Lennon has a sensation of the hall getting smaller and darker, and McCartney getting bigger and brighter. Lennon feels that touch of gentle giddiness one has on a ship at the sea when another ship comes up over the horizon. On rocky Liverpool waves, Lennon and McCartney zigzag into each other's side. They see each other. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this new kind of video I'm trying to make for you guys. I'm so sorry. I know that I made some mistakes over the pronunciation of some words, but the truth is that I had a flu, but I really wanted to record this video as fast as I can so I could, know your opinions about it. So if you like it and want me to continue, please comment, like, or give me a sign that you are a supporter. Subscribe on this channel and share it with your friends. Bye bye and all my loving to you.